Hello there, and welcome to week 12 of the college football season. What's going on, everyone? Lauren Sisler here with AL.com. We're going to cruise right into this SEC Insider brought to you by our good friends Keep Alabama Beautiful. And I'm hanging out with my good friend today, Michael Casa Grande. What's going on, buddy? How you been? How's it going? Week 12 of the season. Have you hit that wall yet? Are you staring it right in the face?
Yeah, I definitely doing these videos. Definitely, they aren't hitting me right in the wall. Yeah, seeing your smiling face every Monday. Yeah,
Aw.
it's not getting old at all. Definitely not.
Only every other Monday, thank you, Michael.
Every
You don't
other
have to deal with me every Monday. Hey, we
no,
appreciate you. Thank you
it's a
for
treat.
thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight, your knowledge of football, and of course of Alabama football. So Alabama, big win this past weekend over New Mexico State, 59-3. Kind of interesting. It's sort of worth noting Nick Saban in a chipper mood after the game during the press conference until the last question was asked about the opening drive. Did you perhaps ask that question? I just gotta ask. Was that you?
I didn't, but the funny thing is, I joked about doing that before. In the third quarter, I said I'm going to write about the first two possessions of the game when Alabama had a punt, or I guess the three when New Mexico State drove down and kicked the field goal. That I was going to be my focus of my story to be negative. So that wasn't it wasn't me.
So that could have been you if you were actually going to write that article so that, you could get Nick Saban's response to that. But, he essentially said, you want me to be critical of my team because we had to punt once in the first quarter and then go get a field goal. I'm not going to do it. So that's the Nick Saban that we got this past weekend. Certainly after a big win and Alabama, coming off a pretty grueling past couple of weeks, especially against LSU, obviously not the performance that they had hoped for. They really had to gut that one out. So this was a big win for Alabama in the sense of just kind of getting things back in order, getting all their housekeeping items together as they get ready to take on Arkansas this upcoming week to clinch the SEC West. So in your opinion, what did Alabama prove to you on Saturday about where they're sort of trending as we close out this football season here in the regular slate?
Yeah, they definitely proved that they're a superior team to New Mexico State. New Mexico State was definitely, if they had any ideas of an upset, they definitely proved that New Mexico State was not.
Okay, wait, I'm going to stop you real quick. So, we always joke, I feel like week to week, like what mood are we going to get Nick Saban? Like, okay, what's he going to be like? Like you've become like the new Nick Saban. Like, okay, what's he going to be like? Is this going to be like rat poison week? Is this going to be like Michael's, I don't know. I mean, I asked you if you could do this today and you're like, no, I'm going to go back and watch the Texas game. Hey, that was a fun game to cover. I really enjoyed being on the sidelines for that one.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, that's why you were joking with me. Stop. Whatever. Okay. Anyway, so
great entertainment.
Okay. ... All right, your turn. To be continued. Go ahead.
Okay. What they proved. I mean, they got back. I mean, they kind of cleansed the system. They needed to have that after LSU and maybe some of Tennessee. That they just kind of needed somebody a punching bag in a sense to kind of get things straightened out. Not that it's hard to say exactly what you prove against a team like that. I guess you get your reps in. You can kind of you can play well. I mean, they did everything they were supposed to do against a team like that. The injuries, you take away the injuries and everything. There really isn't a whole lot to complain about the performance, about how they played after the first possession on offense. But you score 7 straight touchdowns. You block a punt. You get a fumble. You hit like almost all of the different, special teams, everything performed pretty well. So you almost need to get a good clean rep in before you have the final home stretch, Arkansas, an improved Arkansas team, a team that, you never would have said Arkansas in November is going to have any sort of intrigue. Not, they're still a 21, 22 point favorite, but, the last couple of years it's been, they've almost had New Mexico State kind of feel to a pregame against Arkansas.
Yeah, and so I think that's the perfect way you put it. Cleanse the system. You got the punching bag. I think that's certainly, Nick Saban coming into this one, challenge a team. Like, this is judgment day. Like, we got to come in here. We got to compete. We got to perform. We can't let a lesser opponent dictate how we come out and compete. We got to do us. And I think they certainly proved that. Now, I think one thing that we to key in on here. Obviously, the offensive line a bit banged up. I think that's one thing you can kind of point to in this matchup. Just kind of competing without two of their starters on the offensive line, Darian Dalcourt being one of them, Javion Cohen the other one. Now, again, it is New Mexico State. But with that being said, Nick Saban did say he was optimistic those guys will be back. Brian Robinson kind of had his bounce back game, put up 99 yards rushing. But that depth at running back is a little bit of a concern. Roydell Williams now going down with an injury. So you got Jace McClellan out, you got Roydell Williams out, and now you're starting to shuffle guys in and out and trying to figure out what that looks like. So kind of give us the lay of the land and sort of how they're handling the lack of depth that they have in that running back room right now. Yeah,
no, it's kind of crazy when I think I may even have to go back and see what I wrote in the preseason, that this might be the deepest running back room they've ever had. And now, we're in November and they're playing linebackers at running back as their effective number 3, 3A, 3B running back. So it's kind of crazy to see. You have Roydell Williams go down. You have Kamar Wheaton, the 5-star freshman, hasn't practiced. I think he may have started in the preseason, got hurt then. Jason McClellan out for the season. Roydell Williams, I'm not sure what his full season, it didn't sound positive from what Saban said after the game. So you have Trey Sanders as now the number 2, and he's a guy who's coming off, catastrophic, but major hip injury last year, broken hip from the car wreck about a year ago. So it's just, you got Demoy Kennedy, a linebacker who played some Wildcat quarterback in high school. I think he was the 3rd running back in, and Christian Leary, the freshman receiver, who played some running back in high school, is the 3A, 3B, those two. So it's striking to see how a few injuries can take out a running back room that was as deep as they've ever had. So it's it happens. It just you have bad injury luck at a certain position. It happened to linebackers a few years ago, outside linebackers. So it's tough sometimes.
Yep. That's the truth. And certainly, kind of a revolving door. And again, we talked about the offensive line, hoping to get those two guys back, and Darian Dalcourt and Javion Cohen this upcoming weekend. So Alabama enters this game 21-point favorite over Arkansas. Arkansas, a 7-3 team right now. And Arkansas, again, was sort of that team that, was on the rise. Their stock is on the rise. And, you got to continue to give them credit while, again, it doesn't always show up in the win column. This is a team that's going to certainly come in and play inspired football. And I think a team that will give Alabama, some fits and some challenges, especially with the dual threat that their quarterback is, and KJ Jefferson. They've got one of the best receivers in the league, and Traylon Burks. They've got a plethora of running backs. So they've got that on their side with the depth at running back. So just your thoughts on Alabama. Obviously, they got to win this game against Arkansas to clinch the West, and they go play Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium for the Iron Bowl, which, we'll get into that next week, but certainly, some shakeups there with their starting quarterback being out, Bo Nix. And then what's next? SEC championship. So just kind of your thoughts on this matchup, just some early thoughts on what this game means for Alabama and the significance of it, and what they need to do well to get the win and clinch the West.
Yeah, I mean, this is an Alabama team that's, the Tennessee came in, took a lead. It was a game through the beginning of the 4th quarter. LSU, a similar kind of point spread, probably maybe even more. And that game went down to the final snap where they could have won the game. So, I don't know if you can take anybody for granted at this point, just the kind of the yo-yo style of Alabama's play. 1 week the offense is great, 1 week it's terrible. 1 week the defense is giving up a lot. The next week it's shutting down, an Ole Miss. So it's so hard to tell with this team exactly what's gonna happen. But KJ Jefferson's a big guy. He's a big kind of dual threat. I think they might present some things that Alabama hasn't seen as much this year. So there haven't been too many blowouts in SEC play. I don't know if very any. So it's always going to be interesting when you have a team like an Arkansas that's surprising 7-3. Didn't play well against Georgia. we got blown out in that game. But I don't think they've really been out of it the other games that they've lost. So it's I think it's more interesting. It's definitely more interesting of easily the most interesting Iron Bowl primer going into it than we've had the entire time I've covered the team. So
yeah, definitely. Because I think I'm more accustomed to a game like New Mexico State being the game that falls, I guess, sometimes before that Iron Bowl matchup. Yeah. So a little different this year, and for both teams, because Auburn will play South Carolina. So certainly both teams will come in, not really having had that quote unquote week off, so to not that anyone ever takes a week off, but certainly will be interesting. So again, we appreciate your insight as always, Michael. You're always so kind to join us, and we want to say thank you to you. We want to say thank you to our sponsors. Keep Alabama beautiful, and of course, Alabama will kick this one off against Arkansas at home, 2:30 on CBS. So of course, you can check out AL.com for all the coverage. Follow Michael Casagrande because he'll give you a big old smile. All right, guys, have a great week. Peace.